Hello and welcome back to Read Becca, or welcome if it's your first time here. So I think this is going to be a pretty lengthy bookshelf tour. We're going to try and keep it quick by just scanning the spines for the most part, and I'll try and stop and talk about things that I have actually read, which is not going to be the majority of the books because I have a lot of books that I have purchased with the intent of making a collection, and you will see that most of my books are really in the sci-fi and fantasy genres, or speculative fiction at very least, and the reason for that is really that that's where my emotional draw is to collect books. Other things like nonfiction or general fiction, I tend to not collect. I just get it from the library and read it once and then I'm done. Whereas sci-fi and fantasy, I really just want to have shelves crammed full. But oddly enough, my nonfiction shelf probably has the most read books on it, so I tend to hang on to those when I've actually read them and liked them. Whereas these ones turn over a lot more quickly. So this is going to be long. I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as possible, and there will probably be a lot of edits because I'm going to try and cut out as much dead time as I can of pulling out books and whatnot, so the video is not 2 hours long. So let's get into the bookshelf tour. So starting at the top, we have the Nevermore books, or Morgan Crow books. I have the first two. I have read the third, but I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to actually get into these from the UK books, because I don't really love the US cover for the second and third. Then I have the Redwall series. Got quite a lot of those. I have been collecting those from library and book sales, so you can see I have quite a few. I've got the Septimus Heap books, the first two in a box set. I have Deep Light by Frances Hardinge, and this is the Waterstones Special Edition. I also have quite a bit of Stephen Bruce, so he has written the Vlad Taltos series. That's these books here. Paths of the Dead, Cowboy Fangs, Spacebar, and Grill is one I really need to read, but I have not read that one yet. And Terrain in Hell I just found recently at a bookshop. So first we have the Tbr series by Naomi Novik. We've got a tiny dragon here appropriately in front of there. This guy comes from Binks Ceramics, and that is a local crafter to me, so you'll see several little ceramic creatures that I've gotten from them. Then we've got Gail Carriger's Soulless Parasol Protectorate series, and the Old Kingdom series, Sabriel and Lyriel, I have read, and those have been both 5-star reads. I absolutely love the series. The Goblin Emperor and School for Good and Evil here. The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. I just read a short story by Chainani and absolutely loved it, so I will be wanting to get to that soon. Alright, so next we have the controversial Sword of Truth series. I absolutely love this one. This is a prequel novella. Dead of Bones is Zed and Abby's story years before everything else, and that one is fantastic. The rest of the series, your mileage may vary, but I find it at very least quite entertaining. I've read, I think, the first 7 of these and really enjoyed them. So then we move on to my Dragonlance books. So this is the original Chronicles. I used to have an omnibus. Unfortunately, I lent it out and never got it back. Then we've got a couple of other series here. So these are the Legends, and these are the Death Gate Cycle. And then we've got Robert Asprin's Myth Adventures. So next shelf down, we have Fran Wilde. We've got Robin McKinley. We've got Tanith Lee. So this is the Red Unicorn and the Black Unicorn and the Dragon Horde. We've got Patricia Reed, dealing with dragons, searching for dragons, and talking with dragons. We've got Janny Wirtz And these are multiple series, but I think a lot of these fall into the Wars of Light and Shadow. And then The Daughter of the Empire, her work with Raymond Feist. We've got Kate Elliott here. Got Diana Wynne Jones up here. And I love these. These are omnibus editions with just beautiful covers of the Crestomancy books. And then we've got Tad Williams here, Tailchaser Song, The Dragonbone Chair, Other Lands, and The War of the Flowers. Next we have, obviously, Song of Ice and Fire. So I read through these mostly from the library, and so I've gotten these from book sales. This was the only one that I ordered, actually, as a pre-order because I absolutely had to get to it when it came out. So I have this really nice hardback that doesn't match anything. I would love to have these trades. I love the big floppy trades. So I always keep an eye out for those. I have the Asylum series by Madeline Rue. I have not read those. Those are horror series, horror YA, I think. Alison Hewitt is Trapped. I absolutely loved. This came out kind of before the big surge in mixed media, and this is written in a blog format where there has been a zombie outbreak, obviously you can see from the hands, and they're trapped in a bookstore, which you can see the books here. But she's writing this blog on like an emergency backup internet, like a military backup kind of thing. And it's just a really fun format and very uniquely told. So really enjoyed that, and that's what made me pick up this set. And next we've got my Robert Jordan collection, mostly The Wheel of Time. I've read, I think, 9 of the books. Don't have them all, obviously. I read a bunch through my library, but I do collect them when I spot them. I haven't gotten up to the later ones or any of the Sanderson ones. I've got a Conan book that I have not read from him. Then I've got Sanderson. I have read the first Mistborn book of these, and I'm pretty middle of the road on that as well. This is a little puzzle box, you can see. So I did put that together. I didn't plant anything in it. Then we have Patricia Mckillip, and these are absolutely gorgeous colors. I'm going to get these all out. So these are absolutely wonderful covers, and these are by Kanuko Y Craft. And then I've got these as well. So this one I think is both books. This is The Sorceress and the Signet, and The Signet and the Firebird, which are a duology. And then this, I have the second book on its own. And then I've got my Robin Hobb collection. And I, quite shamefully, have not read any Robin Hobb except for some of her Megan Lindholm short stories. So we also have a lovely little peacock, also from Pink Ceramic. Alright, so these are almost entirely unread. So we're just going to scan through these. And I have read John Dies at the End down here by David Wong. It's a very weird, dark, comedic horror. Very trippy, very trippy, and I love that book. Over here, we've got a bunch of random stuff, a couple of anthologies. Peter Darling I have read, and this one is a trans man Peter Pan retelling that is a hate to love, or really enemies to lovers, romance between Peter and Captain Hook, and this one I really enjoyed. And I think that's it for what I've read on that shelf. Alright, so we have Tiny Cats. That is a mini of My Cat Ripley. And we've got Maria Devonna Headley. This is one of her very backlist books. And we have got R.E. Stern's, I think this is Lesbian Pirates in Space, Barbary Station and Mutiny at Vesta. I've got several Cameron Hurley books. The first of this trilogy is on my TBR shelf. I have very obviously read this series, The Golden Compass. I have read this book. I have not read the new second Book of Dust in that series. So I don't know, there's very mixed opinions, but I love this trilogy, not so sure on the second. All right, more mostly unread. So this is the first 2 novels of Dirk Gently, I believe, and I have not read those. And then we've got Just a Dust Jacket, because this is on my currently reading shelf, the Best of World SF that I just recently hauled. And I think all of these are currently unread. And then here at the top, this is just a little notebook. When you order stuff from Folio Society, sometimes they send you nice little extras. You can see, got a nice little Folio Society, the Folio Society. It's really pretty. And then also I have these dice that I ordered. They're metal dice. So you can kind of see they are kind of a light dusty pink with iridescent. Alright, so how this has happened that these have all migrated here, I don't know if you can see, this is my work space when I work upstairs. That's my desk. So these are all right in my line of sight, and I think these are all going to be my TBR for next year. So that one you probably can't read. This is The Library at Mount Char. This one is absolutely stunning, gorgeous. It's got French flaps and everything. Really pretty, and I have never seen anybody talk about it. And all of these are, again, ones I have not read. All right, so more unread. We've got a couple of collections here. Terra Mafi. So these ones, Mike Resnick is really well known for steampunk and weird western, and I actually won these from the World Builders. If you donate to World Builders campaign, which goes to Heifer International, you get entered in a lottery basically. And so I won those, and then he actually passed away just shortly after, so I really need to get to reading those. So I think this is really a women shelf, unintentionally. So these are both Angry Robot, and they are absolutely gorgeous covers. I got them because they have the same cover artist. And the first is Moonshine by Jasmine Gower, and the other is Under the Pendulum Sun by Jeanette Eng, which obviously she won the award for. Okay, and so got Lead in the Mist by Hope Mirrlees. I recently read and loved that one. Lots and lots of classics, and I think I actually have another copy of The Red Magician somewhere else. So all of these are unread. A bunch of Andre Norton. And we are on to my Tamora Pierce stuff. This one, I don't know if you can see. The Realm of the Gods. And then Jane Yolen. And I don't think you can see this one. This one is The Devil's Arithmetic. So starting over here, we have a grab bag of horror novellas that were just cheap and very, probably crappy. This one I have read, Tim Wagner's Deep Like a River, and it was super duper weird. It's a haunted float trip kind of thing. And some of these covers are just wild. And then we have The Gunslinger, Moat in God's Eye, Sphere, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get sufficient light here. So this is fabulous. I have actually 2 covers here. So I've got this one, and these are Valentine books, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. So here's The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, And I've also got the matching, where is it? Here we go. The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. And they are just gorgeous little covers. And this one is covered with cats. I love the little cats on there. And the back. Yeah. So I've got those two little Valentine books. So The Guest Cat I have read. I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful little mundane translated work about a couple who kind of adopt and start taking care of their neighbor's cat when it comes to visit them. But it's very sad. Then I've not read Ringworld or The Once and Future King. I have read Lives of Lacrimora. Absolutely love it. I need to get back to that series. Here we go. We got Herland. I have read and loved by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Snow Crash. I have read and loved. I love Neil Stephenson, but I don't have, my favorite book of his is Cryptonomicon, and I do not own it. I've not read Diamond Age or Anathem. All these, I think, are ones I have not read. And it is too dark to see Gardens of the Moon. And too dark to see Ken MacLeod, Cosmonauts. Then we have collections, kind of. So this one, The New Space Opera by Gardner Dozois, or edited by Gardner Dozois and Jonathan Strahan. This one is interesting because I've read this entirely. I loved the first story, I think, or it's early in the stories, and later went back to look it up and found out it was by Gwyneth Jones, and that story is Saving Tiamat. And I had since read a very recent publication of Gwyneth Jones, her nonfiction biography of Joanna Russ, and absolutely loved it. And so I really need to get back to some of her work because I really, really enjoyed that story. So I don't think I've read anything of these guys. This one is really interesting, World War Cthulhu. It is Lovecraftian and old gods inserted into real wars, real historical wars, and imagined wars as well, world wars. This one is a collection from Lit in college, so it's got a lot of the classics. Dangerous Women, edited by Gardner Dozois and George R. R. Martin. This is a great collection that imagines kind of powerful, strong women. I've not read any of these. This one, actually, let's take this out. So Sean Speakman sent this to me for free because I ordered a special edition. And Sean is obviously an author. This is his own collection, but he also runs Grim Oak Press, which is a specialty press, a little bit like Subterranean Press. And so most of what they do is special printings of books that have already come out. They don't do a lot of original work. So I'm going to take this off because this is an absolutely gorgeous book. And I will show you the other book that I actually purchased. So this one has really lovely silver foiling. It is signed. And it is just beautifully, beautifully printed. So yeah, it's a beautiful little book, and he sent that to me for free for ordering another signed and numbered edition of a book or a series. What else? So Lovecraft's Monsters. This is, so Ellen Datlow, I've got two collections from Ellen Datlow. This one is Blackthorn White Rose. She is just edits everything. This one is an interesting one. Tales from the Great Turtle, edited by Piers Anthony and Richard Gillam. And these are indigenous folklore based, and they did specifically go out of their way to find indigenous authors, but it has a mix, and so I don't know how this is going to be in terms of that. This was, I think, from the 90s, so it might be a bit dated, but it is of interest to me. All right, so you will notice these are all ARCs. They all have the publication dates on them because at one of the book sales that I go to, you can get ARCs for $1. And you can't sell ARCs if you are a for-profit, but charities can in fact sell them. So that's where I get them. So these were all pretty new when they were purchased, but now they're mostly not, and I've not read any of them. And same for those. I have this art. This is from the Little Gold Fox Designs in Portland. It's a little wood print. And I don't think you can see this one. This is The Tale of Two Cities. This is a beautiful little pocket edition, and other than the cover, it's in pretty good condition. It's definitely readable. And these are mostly not SFF here. These are kind of classics. Smell a Sense of Snow. This was a random pickup at a yard sale, and I absolutely loved it, and it got me really into Nordic noir. But this one has a very weird, very random speculative element to it. But I really love this one. Count of Monte Cristo. This is definitely one of my favorites. I have not read Three Musketeers, but I really need to do that. Day of the Triffids. I really need to read this. I've heard such good things. This is one that comes up on like worst covers ever lists. So I think this is maybe a reverse portal fantasy where a fairy comes through to Earth and has a magic guitar. And I think, and this one you probably can't see, this is The Woodwife, which I think Tor was just reissuing as a new book. All right, so I think that is that. All right, we are onto the floor, and these are my comics. So we've got a couple of journals and coloring books there. Then we are at a couple of little single shot cute comics. Liz Climo's Lobster is the Best Medicine and Lost at Sea by Brian Lee O'Malley. We've got The Awkward Yeti. And then we are onto a couple of manga. These are just kind of first in series. And The First Mouse. So then we've got some Atomic Robo. And Atomic Robo is one I love. It's got like almost steampunky vibes. But it's got a robot and a dinosaur who's the villain. And it has airships and lady pirates. And it's taking place maybe like maybe post-war or during Second World War. I'm not sure. Well, obviously a fictional time, but I really, really enjoy this series. It's pretty great. Then we've got Saga, we've got Descender and Monstrous, Rat Queens, East of West. I've got a lot of random stuff you can see here. I've got both volumes of May by Jean Ha. And yet more random stuff until we hit the superhero comics here. And I've got a couple of rando things. And then Batman. You can tell that I'm not a huge fan of the superheroes except for Batman. And these two, I've got two different editions of Arkham Asylum. I've got the 10th anniversary edition, but without the jacket. And that is Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. I am a huge fan of Dave McKean, which you will quickly see as we work through things here. He did a lot of the art for Neil Gaiman originally when Neil was starting out. And then we've got my floppies. I'm not going to take all of these out. This is a little book I got on Isambard Kingdom Brunel. I think I have probably the only thing of note in here that I have is I've got Sandman Overture, the first volume, and I've got the early volumes, I think the first 3 of Umbrella Academy. And this is a variant cover of Midas. All right, and this middle shelf is mostly standalone types of comics and children's books. So this little tiny one is Dave McKean and Ray Bradbury, and I got this purely because it was Dave McKean. There's my children's books in the middle here. And yet again, Dave McKean's big giant book, which I have not read. It's one of the last that I need to read. So that is one of the last that I need to read. So I kind of keep saving it. Okay, so we are now in the depths behind my arm of my futon. These are all books that are from my kind of youth. I didn't buy them myself. And so these ones, I don't particularly feel any desire to really reread them. Most of these are probably Christian fiction. Got a lot of Peretti here. So Frank Peretti is kind of the Christian Stephen King. It's a lot of horror and that sort of thing. And then we got a little Ted Dekker in the Left Behind series over here. Okay, so we made it through one bookshelf, through the big one. These are kind of the, carrying on from that last shelf, these are the ones from my youth that are kind of probably Christian fiction. I think all of these are, that I would like to reread. So Brock and Bodie Taney write historical fiction, and it's really, really good. They are both historians. And so this is their Zion Chronicles that's set in during the Jewish persecution in Europe and America during the war. This series over here is during the Irish potato famine, and then this series here is set during the foundation of the early Christian church right after Christ's death. And this is the first of another series that follows after this series. Then we've got Stephen Lougheed, who writes historical fantasy, and yet another Christian writer. So these ones are all new that I've picked up at library sales and book sales, and I would like to read. So these ones behind them, Hood and Scarlet, are Robin Hood retellings set in historical Wales, and they're really, really fantastic. And then Taliesin and Merlin are, this is retellings of kind of the Merlin and Arthur stories, and it starts with Taliesin being Merlin's parents. So moving down, these are mainly kind of romance focused. Beverly Lewis and Jeanette Oke are maybe on par with Nora Roberts for the inspirational market. So I remember liking all of these, especially these. This series is set in Arcadia, which was part of Canada, where the French and English were kind of crossing over, and so we have a French and a English woman. All right, so this is my TBR shelf, and we're not going to focus on this because I've already done a full TBR shelf tour. So we will move right along. All right, we are on to my nonfiction shelf. So this obviously is just decorative. I've got some steam-powered giraffe cards, which is a band, steampunk band, some dinosaur flashcards, and a bunch of like wooden and specialty bookmarks. This one I got an entire bag with the print on it, and then my magnetic bookmarks. So I have these all at hand whenever I want to use them. And moving on to the actual shelf, we've got my Folio Society edition of Rebecca. And this is what that looks like outside of the box. For obvious reasons, I had to get this. So these ones I have not read. Film School I have read. This one is actually really cool because it assumes you're going to get DVDs. It's old enough for that. So it gives you chapter markings for DVDs to watch and references. So it's very, very cool. This one is just a little self-pub that a friend of mine published. Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. This is all about grammar, and it's very funny. How to Talk to Your Cat About Gun Safety. It's a very important book. An illustrated book of bad arguments. Sarah Vowell, I have not read this one. I've read other books of hers. She is a historian who used to be on The Daily Show all the time. She's very funny. These two are about military. This one I haven't read, but this is about Doctor Who. This is all memories of people who worked on Doctor Who. Ballerina is so good. I read this, I think, last year, and this is a history of kind of all the exploitation and terrible stuff that's happened in the ballet world. You want fries with that? This is probably in the wrong place, but this guy is a journalist who kind of went undercover, sort of, and worked minimum wage jobs. So then we have my kind of chef-related books. We've got 2 Anthony Bourdains. I've read both of these. I think I've read all of his books except for the new one that is coming out. Generation Chef, Guns, Germs, Steel, I sadly have not read. Furious Hours, I actually went to an event with the author, so this is actually a signed copy. These ones I have not read, and they're all kind of medical-ish related. Then we've got Temple Grandin, so these are all sort of neurodivergence related, and this one is another neurodivergence related one. And then we have my science and technology sort of shelf. And I have not read any of these except for What If. And these are both kind of collections of short, funny, scientific answers to weird questions. Then we are on to kind of economics and economic journalism, I guess. The Black Swan and The Long Tail, I have read both of those. I've read The Quants, I've read The Tipping Point, I've read Outliers, I've read Nickel and Dimed and Bait and Switch. So I think those ones I've read. These I have not read. Those I've read The End of Money. This is all about how paper money is going away and why. And then some others I haven't read. Why Do I Have Mark Twain? I got it as a gift. So, but I have not read it. This is just a little pocket constitution that you get from the ACLU. Thank you. So Bondi is a translated work from North Korea, and I think the rest of this is pretty much American. What have I read? I've read The Audacity of Hope by Barack Obama. That was really good. I've read Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. That's good. The Common Good by Robert Reich. I really like Robert Reich. He's great on social media. These other ones I have not read. The Susan Jacobys. New Rules by Bill Maher. I have read and liked, and I Am America and So Can You, as well as Why We Suck by Dennis Leary, are both very funny. Then we have memoirs. So I think I have read actually all of these somehow and liked all of them. They're all pretty funny. Super You is not a memoir actually, but this is a funny self-help kind of by Emily Gordon. And she is married to Kumail Nanjiani. She is a counselor and has worked with kind of troubled youth. But this is really good and really practical. So this one you can't probably read. This is Felicia Day's memoir of how she started the guild. And we are on to my religion shelf. So this one could go in science or religion. So I love this book. This is yet again my friend Dave McKean. So this is very beautifully illustrated. It tackles a lot of different things, but world myths for sure. So I kind of fit in there because it has like a lot of creation stories and stuff. But it goes with what we know through science. It says, here's what the myth is, and here's exactly what we can say through science today. And so I think it's really, really a great book. This one I have not read. I probably wouldn't have bought it, except that it was ridiculously on clearance. Let's see. So lots of random stuff in here. And I love, you can tell, Rob Bell. I've got 3 Rob Bells here. This one, pull out. This is the Jefferson Bible. So Jefferson went through and made a very edited version of the New Testament that was just what Jesus said, and he took out all the nonsense. This is, it's not coming through, the Gospel of Thomas. The Baba Gita. This is an odd one, Finding God in the Lord of the Rings, despite the fact that Tolkien specifically wrote not to find any hidden messages in his books. This tiny one I don't think you can see. This is The Case for Easter by Lee Strobel. And this one is actually interesting. I studied this in college in non-Western culture, and it kind of talks about how the way the West acts has fostered terrorism. And this one is just a book on a basic intro to Islam. And this one is shiny, so you can't see it. This is Letters to a Young Muslim. All right. So we're on to my tall bookshelves in the living room. I've got 2 of these and then my favorite shelf. So this is an odd box of blooming teas. So they're kind of loose leaf and you just put them in water and they bloom and make a flower in your hot water. And then I've got some kind of random stuff. My David Mitchell books. And moving down, we've got some books I have read. I've read all of these and loved all of these. So these are all kind of clustered together just purely because I really enjoy them. And moving down, we've got obviously a tea kettle that I got as a gift because I get lots of peacock things. And these are Barnes & Noble editions. These are special editions. They had a buy one get one sale, so I got them for half price. But they're gorgeous. You can't really tell, but this is really shiny and beautiful spines, obviously, in the back. And I haven't taken them out of the plastic yet, clearly, but they are really, really gorgeous. And down to the next. This is my TBR / library shelf. So we've got my stuff that I'm currently reading here, my library checkouts that I just showed you recently, and then these things are all my TBR for the month. And this little guy is like a fidget toy. You just pop these little bubbles. So this is kind of my favorite self-pubs. So this one is like a standalone military fantasy, kind of. It tackles both sides of a war, and it's like one side is fighting kind of guerrilla style tribal people, and the other is more advanced civilization, and they are on horseback and that sort of thing. So it's really an interesting disparity between those two in this. And these are the Digitesque series, and I love these covers. So the covers were done by Keezy Young, who I think most people probably know from the comic Taproot. So I've read the first two. I have not read the third one yet, but that's on my TBR for the year. So next we have the Gremlix series, and these are weird westerns with an orc protagonist. He's kind of a monster hunter. So these, I've only got the first and the third. I need to get the second, and then I just kickstarted the fourth. So I really enjoy these books. The second is actually my favorite, the one that I don't have. Then we have the Yarnsworld series by Benedict Patrick, and these ones have won a bunch of cover contests. So they mostly come out at night, where the waters turn black, and those brave foolish souls in the City of Swords. Love all of those. I read the first two, and the next one is on my TBR. And then this is his next series, the Dark Star series, and I have not read it yet. And Andrew Rowe. This is the second book of the Arcane Ascension series. I loaned out the first and never got it back, but I absolutely love this series, and they are super duper chunky. He's kind of in the vein of Brandon Sanderson. It's really hard magic and JRPG style, almost to the point of being a video game. Continuing down, we've got a little planty, and we've got mostly stuff I haven't read yet. And I've read this, Yahtzee Crowshot of Zero Punctuation on YouTube. A lot of people know who he is. I've read Mogworld as well, but don't have it. And he writes kind of genre pastiche, I guess. So Mogworld is kind of fantasy. This one is sci-fi, like pulpy sci-fi. And this one is apocalyptic. Then we have Wicked and Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister. Wicked is on my TBR for the year. This one I should get rid of. This was not a new favorite, but it's such a gorgeous book that I just hang on to it. I need to get back and read the second book. And then these are some more weird westerns that I have not read. So I think The Membranes is the only one that I have read on this shelf. I read this pretty recently. It just came out, and I have an ARC, and I really, really enjoyed it enough to buy a copy. So really like that one. And the rest of these I have not actually read. Okay, we are at the top of the other tall shelf, and these are kind of random fiction. Got some sci-fi in here, but these, I don't think I've read any of these. Sleeping Giants, I've read. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, I read and loved. This is a great portrayal of neurodiversity. So I, Lucifer, I have read and loved. This is Lucifer kind of comes down into a human body and doesn't really want to go back. Lemony Snicket's Horseradish. This is just kind of random musings. I think that is it for what I've read on this shelf. The next shelf, got Michael Chabon, Master and Margarita. You can see I started this on a plane, and I don't remember any of it. It was one of those terrible experiences where I just was not getting through it, and I need to restart it and read the book. Umberto Eco, Sharp Teeth. So I just hauled this one, and this is my paperback copy. I love that book. Some Camus. I am a huge Camus fan. And this last little one is Dante's Divine Comedy. And I should have a copy of Inferno somewhere around here because I studied it in college, but I don't know where it is. Next down, we have Women Who Read Are Dangerous up front here. And then we've got some just random stuff. Doomsday by Christopher Buckley. Christopher Buckley is really funny, and he writes satire, and this one is all about deciding to euthanize boomers. So basically old people giving up their lives so that the population can get under control. Bruce Sterling, Pirate Utopia. This is a very weird political sci-fi, maybe alt history. I do not know how to explain it, but it was really interesting. The Thief. I have read the second book of this series, and then I wanted to go back and read it, so I've been collecting these. And we've got Jonathan Stroud. I really love his Bartimaeus, so I've got these two other series to start there. Got my Kim Stanley Robinson stuff and Connie Willis stuff. All right, so this is kind of random stuff. Some of it's literary fiction. I think it has grown into other things. So these are totally random. I got these from a haul that I did, and they sent me half of somebody else's order and half of my order. So I don't know what those are at all, and I don't know if I want to keep them, but eventually they may appeal to me. And so yeah, these are all kind of literary fiction. David Guterson, I read his book Snow Falling on Cedars in college and really, really loved the atmosphere of it. It's great historical fiction. This one I've never seen anybody talk about. I think it's alt history, but kind of sci-fi. All right, we're almost there. So we've got a copy of Heidi. And this is not in the greatest condition. It's clearly gotten wet, but it's so beautifully illustrated. I picked this up very inexpensively at a book sale, so I had to have it. And the end papers on this one are really, really pretty. So kind of random stuff on this shelf. The Turning Season I have read. This is urban fantasy. It's really good. It's very cozy and kind of feel good. I love Sharon Shin's writing. The Sorrows, this one is fabulous. This is retelling of the Ulster cycle. This one, so this is a really nice omnibus of the Sword of Shannara trilogy. Random stuff. This one is Colson Whitehead, one of his early works, and I need to get to that one. So this one is a not very good copy of the Graveyard book, so it's not on my Gaiman shelf, but somebody was at a school or something and somebody has marked it all up, but I wanted this for the illustrations, because I do not have this copy elsewise. Okay, so onto more kind of random stuff. I haven't read that. The Sellout I have read and loved. It's very uncomfortable but funny. Lamort Arthur I studied in college because I studied a semester on Robin Hood myths, and that was covered there. What else? Cry the Beloved Country. This was kind of one of my first literary fiction books, I think, and I really, really enjoyed it. I need to reread it because it was to the point where I actually bought and gave copies to other people, which is pretty rare. So I need to pick that one up. So Sherry S. Tepper, I mentioned I got the Galaxy Omnibus, and I've got a couple of her other works here. The End, this is a fairly recent book, and I don't know very much about it. I've only seen one other person read it, but I really do want to read that. It's supposed to be really good. Wings of Fire, Connor O'Brien raves about this series, so I want to read it. Lloyd Alexander, Time Cat was just a complete cover buy. And Robert Holstock's Mythago Wood. And that is it for these. So I think we are going to leave it there for today. All we've got left is my favorites shelf. And I think so that we can go through that a little bit more slowly and one book at a time, I'm going to close this one off because we're already over an hour. And I will run through that one book at a time and kind of pull things out more because I have a lot of special editions on that shelf or multiple editions of things. So thanks so much for watching, and I will get this out to you as soon as I'm done editing this hour of video.